Bottom boom. Welcome back. Hope you got a little time in. Did that celebrating? I'm gonna keep bringing this up. This feels important. But here we are. We got the project pulled down. Good job. Got it running. Uh, Overlooked my typo. If you didn't catch it, I didn't reopen the right project folder, so you had to kind of navigate to source. There you go. One of the challenges you have to overcome on the adventure. So let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. We're going to dive right into reading the console. What do you do with all of this? I went back up and just reran the tests versus the reports so we could kind of see some of what the console is about. The first thing up is there's just a lot going on, and we know that there's more than one thing unhappy. So we're going to take smaller bites. If we look in the features and we want to try and find this error, so from the library list, I'm trying to get into library detail. Let's have a test just for this. And now we could say test. All right, how to read the error message. So a couple of things. I'd start and kind of read the very bottom, then maybe skim your way up towards the very top, kind of gain a sense of what was going on right before we entered this state, and if there's any sort of summary or anything useful, depending on what you're running, is going to give you out here at the bottom. This looks pretty straightforward, given I navigate to the library list page. Done. When I select the library by name, First Street Library, looks fine. I was unable, I waited as long as I possibly could and didn't find this locator. Seems to say anchor that that has text, First Street Library locator. So this feels fine. This feels like a fine thing to say, and this failed. If we want to take in kind of the error message coming out of the .NET framework, you'll generally see as it begins its stack trace, probably some things that don't make sense. You're like high level library stuff, not me, not me, not me. But if you kind of slowly skim down, you're going to move to a point where things get familiar. You're like, not me, not hey, me, right? So this is kind of reversing the execution um, thread that had taken place and unrolling all of those calls that got us into that errored state. And we can see that, this operation called this operation that was calling using participating in this operation and works its way up. So at some point it will be familiar, and just kind of find those first familiar moments if you're wanting to kind of look around at exactly where did things error off, right? So control click and even try. Doesn't always succeed. If you're in VS Code, you're probably used to that. But it's telling us here, line 16 in this file was one of the things that called our way into this problem. So library link from card locator, click async. That so far we're getting pretty close. We're jumping right into a moment that at least sort of familiar to the ask, to the problem that we're going to help them solve. So let's unpack what's going on here, right? And I believe that's our next slide over here. There's a little bit in the middle we're going to talk about, but we're going to land on the page object model pattern. So this locator, I can control click again and kind of look for the definition, happens to be defined right here. It is asking this library locator to chain another locator looking for an anchor tag. This library locator is calling a method and passing in the library's name. If we move down here, we see that method accepts the library's name and then builds up a selector for Playwright to parse to try to find this. And right now is the moment, or maybe, a minute ago. Let's make sure we can see this and create this and recreate this in our browser. So let's go ahead and stop staring at code for a minute and kind of root our efforts in the website. Now, one way, since we're in here to kind of practice reading this, we're going to notice these files tend to have their subroute anyway, right? Not necessarily the domain, but the route once you get to the domain is generally knowable anytime you're down here in these page objects. And we'll talk about those a lot. Cool. So if I knew the domain, I could go here and then I think left a little link over here to help get you started. All right, and we're here on we're right there. We are right where this page picks up the conversation. And this selector that's being built out here is kind of being called into question. So if we go back to the notes we received, what can we observe about how this page is laid out and what's going on in these various moments that's different over here that might make it a little obvious what the problem might be. And I'm going to leave it to you and maybe a different way to sort of reveal the hints towards solving this problem. But this is on you. This is your moment. We've got you to where you need to be in code, and I'm going to talk with you just a little bit more, but I'm not going to solve this. And I will give some more hints, but I encourage you not to get ahead of this. Like, let it be a fun little mystery. What changed here that broke these tests? And what effort are you going to need to go through to make this test work again? It used to work. Small change. There you go. High five. So a quick breakdown on the page object model pattern, just kind of an introductory pass. We're going to work with these quite a bit and have an opportunity to talk about them more. But ultimately, the job of this pattern of class, this pattern of file, if you're just learning some of this for this first time, we have three. We have the feature file, we have the binding file, and we have these page object models. And these three things work together to give us a lovely environment and a nice domain language that is very human in nature that we can sort out and organize here in benefit to the product and product teams that serve them. Heck yeah. All right, cool. So page object models are their job is to encapsulate and hide and protect every other thing. Like no other file should have to worry about the kinds of things the page object model file is worried about. And this page is all worried about interacting with the browser. If you want to click on something or adjust the URL or check a value, anytime you want to interact with the actual browser or an emulator or whatever you've got configured, the page object model wraps all of that and exposes a very lovely way for your other files of different types to just ask them politely to do things. So if you're over here in your binding file and you're wanting to tend to some amount of assertions and error handling, you're just kindly asking these page object models, hey, what's this value? Or click this button or go do this thing. And you have no idea how they do that. And you're very happy that's the case because that would muddy up all these other files and make things hard. And all of our page object models inherit from base page object, right? Something they all kind of share, and some more helper methods, interacting with tables and different things that just make it really easy and lovely for our language that starts at this wonderful Gherkin high level. We're going to get into all of this together, and each adventure you go through is going to move you to different points in the flow and in the stack. But a lovely human friendly way to sort of explain the intent of these operations, often as they work together to move through a deployed kind of environment so that you're simulating that end user doing exactly what they're doing in the browser. You move into your binding files, which kind of bring that language down into code so that we can match. And there is some variable injection and some other super cool things that make building these easy and fun. And doing a good job is part of what we hope to explore together. But yes, very, very cool stuff. So our steps, bindings, they have one job, right? They take questions at left and go get answers at right and assert on those, check them for their accuracy, do a little bit of error handling, and that's it, right? That's its job. So very clean patterns we're going to learn and look through together. And again, the Gherkin describing the very sort of user story, business expression. We can do this well in advance, and these words turn into actual code. And that's super lovely. So in support of that, the base page object knows about its path so that it could check for it or navigate to it or do those sorts of things. It manages a lot of these locators that Playwright can get a reference to and store that are an attempt to execute one of its selector engines. So Playwright has like 10 different selector engines, and by and large, those are based on the first character, but they're all strings. And so this is a little different than what's going on in Selenium with those by functions, but pretty easy to convert between the two, and everything we're doing here will easily transfer to what you're doing in Selenium. Cool. And then we're going to expose some friendly methods that others can use, like, hey, select a library by name, or get a library's name by card, or am I on this page? I want it to be able to select a library. These locators are more the potential for action, and then you'll find that those locators then get used to take action. So here we can see we're reading the text content from this library name from card locator of H4 of the selector. You'll get used to the language, and we'll continue to practice, but hopefully it tells a story in a way that's exciting. High five. All right. If I didn't give you the answer right now, I did tell you to have your dev tool open. That's good advice. You're definitely going to want to start inspecting things in here and see if you can find here the locator that is intended, and look at some of and think of some of the strategies around creating locators to that. I'll point here to not give away too much of what's going on down there, but here we see, well, let's look at the anatomy of one of these because it does have a few more things going on. Um, so the card itself, right? We kind of see the boundary of that card. It does have something like a data test ID, and that'll be something you're going to want to probably do a quick Google, Playwright.net data test ID. There's some interesting theories and fun things you could do with these. It's something you'll probably want to consider learning more about. We also have classes, right? Let's say if this said, card one, that could mean something to us, or card first street library, that could mean something to us. Um, we can certainly create selectors on classes. Those are all right. Now, you have to be careful because you can very easily have a class you thought was going to only be used once and very unique get used again and again because that's kind of what they want to do. And so you'd have to have a strong cooperation or be in control of adding something there. You don't have to do that anymore. There are definitely moments where that might come up, though, that you want to do some class selection, and maybe you anticipate there could be any number of them, and you're going to work with that. We also see, this idea of copy and XPath and not doing that, right? There's a lot of effort being put in by your vendors, so you don't do this. This is incredibly brittle, and it makes it so hard to change what's going on the screen from a pure UI perspective, sometimes in dramatic ways. There are conditions where that should have no impact on your test's ability to run. And so that'll be part of what we're here to learn a lot about and practice some of those different selector styles that are going to help us get here without having to do something like that. Sometimes you're going to find is, hey, delivery team, if you could just add an ID tag here or a data test ID tag here, that feels like the right thing to do. And we want to get you to a place that not only are you confident enough to show up to your, team stand up and say, this is what I want help with. I've got 5 of these. Somebody help me out. At some point, you might end up a junior dev. And if not, you're not already, but as a manual or automated, a manual tester that gets into automation and starts to learn some of these concepts and sort of the 3 patterns that we're going to spend a lot of our time on, you become well suited for that journey towards a junior dev, and the delivery team might just say to you, hey, go add those 5 IDs, take one of us with you if you're not confident yet, but we look forward to you going ahead and making some of those changes. Opening what we're going to teach you is to create a branch and a pull request. No big deal. Take a little practice. You'll get good at it. And then we'll look at the changes you're proposing and probably we'll just approve those. And ta-da, welcome even more, closer to the engineering delivery team. Super cool, super cool. So that's your job right now will be to take some of what I've just mentioned and some of what could be hiding in there, take what you can from the comparison of what was before and what is now, and work with those in the code to see if you can't create a system that will support um, why this is unhappy and what needs to be different to make it happy. High five. All right, well, we'll see you on the other side of you giving that your best. I don't know, give it 20 minutes, give it 30 minutes, give it an hour. If you're an hour into this and you're not totally smiling and moving forward and winning and rerunning the tests and seeing you missed a comma and doing it again and smiling and winning, definitely lean into that Discord channel. Definitely lean into the open office opportunities for those of you that are in the program or look to get in one of the programs, so that you do have a small learning team to be a part of, bringing a couple, 3 to 5 of you together that have slightly different skills to help one another move through some of these adventures. And we have set hours where I and some of my team are available to you as a student. And then all of us are building a community. And that community, be reasonable. And we're open to promoting what you're up to. We're open to, promoting your growth and learning. With one another in a tight community of folks who've paid to go through the program. That's awesome. Good luck to your learning. I hope we finish this adventure together strong, and then you will consider going ahead and moving in to one of our paid programs. Thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your day. Da-da. Cheers.